and welcome to another edition of Ask Ron. Today is a question I've been getting for many, many years. If you could give one piece of quick advice that would be extremely valuable to any aspiring bodybuilder, anybody just starting out, or even in an intermediate stage where they've maybe been doing it for a year or two, it would be this: be consistent and never give up. Those are definitely the two keys to succeeding in bodybuilding for your personal goals. Succeeding competitive bodybuilding, it's going to depend largely on your genetics, which you can't really change. You can maximize your genetics, but unless you're born with very favorable genetic traits, you're not going to get beyond a certain point, probably, top 5 national level. You're probably not going to turn pro, and if you turn pro, somehow you're not going to be a very good pro unless you have those genetics. But that's not what bodybuilding is all about. Bodybuilding is a lot more than the competitive side of it. And I'd say that 90% of the people who live the bodybuilding lifestyles don't compete, have no desire to compete. They do it for their own personal satisfaction, to improve their physiques. And that's what it's all about. That's what it should be all about. You versus you, improving and beating your previous best. And you can do that. You can all do that. Anybody can get better and better as years go by if you do those two things. Be consistent, never give up. Being consistent in 3 areas. It's this triangle that I call it: training, nutrition, and rest. Those 3 things you need to be on point. Obviously, training, I'd say that's where most people are most consistent. Most people that are bodybuilders or aspiring bodybuilders, they love training. Training's fun. You go to the gym, you lift some weights, you get a pump, get sweaty, hit some shots in the mirror, take some selfies, whatever. It's fun. Everybody loves training for the most part, or else you wouldn't be doing this. Nutrition, not so fun. Nutrition, not so fun because it's work. It's the hardest part of bodybuilding. Preparing the meals, cooking all that food, cooking all the protein. If you're eating 5 or 6 times a day, eggs, chicken, steak, fish, turkey, these things all need to be cooked. Unless you're very lucky to have someone in your life, a wife or girlfriend or whatever, somebody who is willing to cook all that food for you. And if that's the case, you're so lucky, because that's the hardest part of bodybuilding, because it needs to be done on a consistent basis. You need to cook once or twice a week. I say once because I've seen people that do it, like Evan Centopani, where they'll spend a whole day basically prepping food for the week, cooking 10 pounds of chicken, 10 pounds of fish, beef, all this stuff. And then they freeze it and they thaw it out as the week goes on as needed. And that's their food for the week. And they have usually Sunday or one day earmarked for meal prep day. So that's where most people fall short, because it's the most work intensive. It requires the most effort, because you do have to go buy the food, or buy the meat, whatever. Then you have to cook it. Then you have to store it. You have to wash the dishes. It's a lot more effort. And it's the eating. It's eating every 2 to 3 hours, every waking moment of the day. It becomes a job. It becomes a chore. And, I don't eat for pleasure. Most bodybuilders don't eat for pleasure. Not to say I don't enjoy my food, but, do I really want to eat 6 meals a day? Of course I don't. No, I'd rather be able to, if there was some way that I could look the way I wanted to look by eating 3 times a day, I would do it. But I've found that if I don't eat enough, I'm just not able to carry the same amount of muscle mass. And, that's just me. I'm not even that big of a guy compared to a lot of the people I know, obviously. But it takes a lot of food on a consistent basis throughout every day, every week, every month, every year. And especially if you're trying to make gains, you need to be very, very consistent with your eating. As you miss meals, you miss chances for that to get those nutrients in your body, and your muscles won't recover and grow from the workouts. They just won't. Third part of that triangle is rest. That's where a lot of people fall short as well, because you need to make sure you're getting 7 to 8, let's say 8 hours of quality sleep every night. Do you get that? Not everybody does. A lot of people, they have busy lives. They might have a job or 2 jobs, a family to look after, elderly relatives or something to look after, all kinds of responsibilities. Maybe they're a student. There's responsibilities people have in their lives that sometimes you're not able to put aside 8 hours every night to sleep. I get that. But a lot of people have the time, but they choose to spend it going out, partying with their friends, staying up watching binge watching Netflix or whatever, that they're not getting enough rest. And if you don't get enough rest on a consistent basis, that also will take away from the potential gains you could be making and the physique that you ultimately want to build. You want to have all three things in place: rest, nutrition, and training. If you put all those three together, you're training consistently, you're eating good food every day, every 2 to 3 hours, you're getting plenty of rest. You put those, add up all those good, consistent days of doing those into weeks, months, and years, you'll reach your ultimate potential. If you fall short in any of those areas, the greater extent you fall short, the lesser results will be. The further away from your ultimate potential you'll never get. You'll never be as good as you could have been. So we all have a certain ultimate potential, and you want to reach that. You're able to reach that if you work hard and you persevere and you're dedicated to staying consistent in those three areas. And when I say never give up, it's also the same thing. You have to be consistent, and you have to believe that this consistency is going to pay off. And it's tough because there are going to be stretches where you're at a plateau where you don't see any changes. You don't see yourself getting any bigger. You're not getting stronger. Nothing seems to be happening. You're putting out all this effort and you seem to be getting nothing in return. But trust me when I say that you can go through stretches like that where nothing's happening, and then all of a sudden, after maybe 6 months, 8 months of very little results, you start gaining. You make a leap. You put on 2 or 3 pounds of muscle, and you're like, wow, where'd that come from? Nobody really knows how all this works, especially in the long term, in terms of muscle gains. But trust me, it's believing that it's going to pay off, and it's not giving up, even though it's very discouraging. And people will try to discourage you too. A lot of people who are supposedly looking in after your best interests, or that they're your friends or their relatives, they'll put little digs in, like, why are you still doing that? Why you got to eat again? Why you got to go to the gym? Why you need to go to bed? Why don't you come out with us? We're going out. We're gonna smoke. We're gonna drink. We're gonna do whatever. People will try to talk you out of your goals. They'll try to discourage you and make you think it's either your goals are silly or a waste of time, or that you're never going to achieve your goals anyway. A lot of people, that goes for life in general. When you have goals and you're somebody who wants to achieve things, it's kind of a threat and intimidating to people who don't really have any goals, and they're not looking to achieve anything. So, believe in yourself, stay true to your goals, stay true to your dreams, be consistent, and you will ultimately have the best body you can have, which is all any of us can really do. And trust me when I say that if you're consistent and you do this long enough, you're going to have a pretty damn good physique, regardless of whether it's good enough to win a national title or a pro title. That doesn't matter. It's going to be pretty damn impressive, and most people are going to recognize it as such. So that's all. Thanks for watching. Talk to you next time.